Don't you dare pull it out, I'll scream. Warned the alien woman. The Resolute drifted through the darkness of the asteroid belt. Like a patient hunter, its captain, James Arlen, sat in the command chair, his boots resting on the edge of the console. Outside the viewport, countless rocks tumbled silently through space, their shadows shifting in the pale light of a distant sun dot. They were not here for beauty. They were here for salvage. Picking up anything, Cat? Arlen asked without looking up. Katrina Lee, the ship's sensor officer, tapped her screen. Plenty of iron, nickel, and rock. Same as every other belt. Wait, hold on. Her voice changed. Captain, I've got a signal. Faint, very faint. Arlen swung his boots down and leaned forward. How faint? Old, Katrina said, brow furrowing. And I mean old. The frequency doesn't match anything in the current registry. It's repeating in a loop every 6 seconds. James straightened. Can you pinpoint it? Already on it? Triangulating now. Within minutes. The Resolute's engines fired, and the ship glided toward the signal. The rest of the crew, Lieutenant Ramirez, the ship's engineer, and Ensign Drew. The pilot looked equally curious. It wasn't often they picked up something that didn't belong to a mining drone or a cargo hauler. As they closed in, Katrina's voice grew sharper. It's coming from inside that cluster of rocks ahead. Narrow canyon between them. I'm reading a metallic object wedged in the middle. The ship eased forward, light sweeping over jagged asteroid surfaces. And then they saw it, half buried in the shadow of a massive boulder, was a smooth, crystalline pod. It shimmered faintly, even without the ship's lights touching it. Ramirez whistled. That's no mining equipment. No, Arlen agreed. Quietly, that's alien. They suited up. In zero gravity, Arlen and Ramirez floated toward the pod, pushing themselves off the asteroid wall. The closer they got, the more details they saw, smooth lines, faint engravings like flowing script, and a soft blue glow from within. The pod was cracked. The glow pulsed weakly, like a heartbeat slowing down. There's someone in there, Ramirez said, peering through the crystal. Tall, humanoid, still breathing. Arlen's pulse quickened. Alive? Barely. The captain's decision was immediate. We're bringing it aboard. With careful effort, they attached magnetic clamps and thrusters to the pod, guiding it back toward the Resolute. Once inside the cargo bay, they moved it to the med bay, where the ship's automated systems scanned it. Vitals are unstable, the medbay AI reported. Severe trauma detected. Foreign object lodged in thoracic cavity. Unknown material. Appears to be sustaining life functions. Arlen and Ramirez exchanged a glance. The crystal surface of the pod hissed and split apart like flower petals opening. Cold mist rolled out, curling around their boots. Inside lay a woman, though clearly not human. Her skin shimmered like pearl under light, shifting subtly between shades of blue and silver. Bioluminescent patterns traced along her arms and neck, glowing faintly in rhythm with her breathing. Her hair floated slightly, as if still underwater, strands sparkling with tiny flecks of light. And there, embedded deep in her chest, was a shard of pure, glowing crystal. It pulsed with each beat of her heart. Her eyes snapped open. They were bright gold. She gasped, then sat up far faster than someone that injured should have been able to. Don't you dare pull it out, I'll scream. The sudden sharpness of her voice made everyone freeze. Arlen raised his hands. We weren't going to. Her gaze darted between them, her breathing uneven. Good, she said. Because if you do, I will die, and then so will you? It took minutes for her to steady her breathing. The ship's translator struggled. At first, but soon adapted to her language, rendering her words into clear galactic common. My name is Velara, she said, her voice softer now but still guarded. Was part of a diplomatic mission. What happened? Arlen asked. Her eyes flickered. Attack. Machines without mercy. My ship destroyed. I escaped only because my people placed this shard in me. It is keeping me alive. But it is also calling them. Calling who? Katrina asked from the doorway. The ones who destroyed us. Velar said, they will follow until I am gone. The room went silent. Arlen studied the shard. It wasn't like any tech he'd seen, organic yet mechanical, glowing with an energy that seemed alive. He wondered how something could be both a life support device and a beacon for danger. "Why would your people give you something that attracts the enemy?" Ramirez asked. "It is not meant to attract," she said. "It is meant to open a gate and ancient passage between stars, far from here." But the machines learned to sense its energy. Now it is both salvation and death. Arlen crossed his arms. "You're saying we help you reach this gate, and you live, yes?" She said simply, "Or you leave me here, and maybe you live a little longer." But the machines, they do not forget. The Resolute's crew gathered in the mess hall later to discuss. "She's trouble," Ramirez said flatly. "A walking target, and a chance to see something no human has ever seen," Arlen replied. "That shard could be the key to technology older than any of us can imagine." Katrina frowned. "Or the key to our destruction," Arlen shrugged. "In our line of work, those are usually the same thing." They voted. By a narrow margin. They agreed to help. Back in the medbay, Arlen told Velara the news. She listened quietly, her golden eyes studying him. "You are not afraid?" she asked. "Oh, we're afraid," he said. "But humans have a saying, fortune favors the bold." She tilted her head. "Boldness is often foolishness, maybe," Arlen said, smiling faintly. "But sometimes foolishness changes the galaxy, for the first time." Velara's expression softened. Then the Resolute's sensors lit up. Katrina's voice came over the comm. "Captain, we've got movement. Multiple contacts. Closing fast." Velara's glow dimmed. "They found me." The Resolute turned. Engines firing at full power. Asteroids spun past as the ship wove through the belt, trying to shake whatever was following Dot in the medbay. Velara clutched the edge of the bed, the shard in her chest pulsing rapidly. "They will not stop," she warned, "until either I am through the gate or I am gone." Arlen met her gaze. "Then we better make sure it's the first one." The chase had begun. The Resolute tore through the asteroid belt, its engines roaring in the vacuum. The only sound inside was the steady hum of machinery and the faint, anxious breathing of its crew. Captain James Arlen stood at the command console, his eyes locked on the sensor display. "Talk to me, Cat," he said, his voice calm but tight. Katrina Lee's hands moved quickly over the controls. "For contacts, maybe 5. They're fast for normal ships, no transponders, no heat signatures, either." Ramirez, leaning over her shoulder, frowned. "No heat? That's wrong. Even stealth ships give off something." "Not these," Katrina replied. "It's like they're not alive, just moving shapes." Velara entered the bridge quietly, but everyone felt her presence, the soft glow of her skin reflected in the dark glass of the viewport. Her golden eyes scanned the readouts. "It is them," she said softly. "The Null Swarm." Arlen turned toward her. "You've met them before." Her expression didn't change. "No one meets them twice. I am only here because of the shard. Without it, I would have joined the rest of my crew in silence." The Resolute banked sharply between two massive asteroids. The shadows swallowed them for a moment, but the sensor blips kept closing. "We can't outrun them," Ramirez said. Arlen's jaw tightened. "Then we hide." He ordered the engines to power down, leaving only life support systems running. The ship drifted into the shadow of a tumbling rock, its surface jagged like broken glass. Everyone waited. Seconds passed, then minutes. "Did we lose them?" Drew, the pilot, whispered. Katrina shook her head. "They're slowing, but they're still near. It's like they're sniffing us out." Velara closed her eyes, her hand pressing gently over the shard in her chest. "They are." The shard calls to them, even when it is still. The captain motioned for the crew to follow him to the strategy table. Velara stood apart, watching them with wary eyes. "All right," Arlen began. "Here's the situation. Those things want her. They can track her. As long as she's aboard, they can track us too." "Then the answer's simple," Ramirez said flatly. "Put her on an escape pod. Push her toward the gate she wants, and we get clear." Katrina glared at him. "That's a death sentence." "It's survival," Ramirez shot back. Arlen raised a hand. "Enough. We're not doing that." Both of them looked at him. she's our passenger. Arlen continued, and until she gives me a reason to think otherwise, we protect her. Valara's voice came from behind them. You're unusual. They turned. She had stepped closer, her bioluminescent patterns flickering faintly. Most species would not risk themselves for someone they just met, she said, especially. Not for a stranger carrying danger in her chest. Arlen met her gaze. Most species aren't human. For a moment, something unreadable passed over her face, surprise, maybe even curiosity. As the ship stayed hidden, Valara explained. Her people, the Luminari, had been trying to open peaceful contact with other civilizations. The Null Swarm had appeared during one such mission. They were not truly alive machines created long ago, designed to destroy all organic life. No one knew who had built them, or why. The swarm cannot be reasoned with, she said. They do not want resources. They do not want territory. They only want silence. And the shard? Katrina asked. It is a key, Valar replied. To a gateway older than my people. A path to a hidden star system. A safe place. Why not just toss the key into space? Ramirez asked. Because. Without it, the gate will never open again, she said. And without the gate, there is no safety. The Resolute stayed in the asteroid's shadow for another hour. Then, slowly, the sensor blips began to fade. They're leaving, Katrina said, relief in her voice. Not leaving, Valar corrected. Waiting. They know where I am now. They will keep distance until they can strike without warning. Arlen knew she was right. He tapped the table. Then we move. Drew, plot a course for the gate, Cat. Keep scanning. If those things so much as blink, I want to know. The journey out of the belt was tense. Every time a shadow passed across the viewport, the crew's hands twitched toward the controls. Valara stayed mostly in the medbay, conserving her strength. Late in the second day, Arlen found her studying a small, hand-sized device. It projected a faint star map above its surface. Your gate's there, he asked, pointing to a pulsing blue point of light. Yes, she said. But the path is not simple. The swarm destroyed many of the stable routes. We must pass through uncharted space. Arlen smiled faintly. Good thing humans like uncharted space. That night, if such a thing could be said in the endless dark alarms, woke the crew. Katrina's voice blared over the comm. Captain, they're back 3 contacts this time. Closing fast. The crew rushed to stations. The Resolute banked hard, engines screaming. This time, the pursuers didn't hang back. They moved in black shapes against black space, sleek and sharp-edged, with no visible lights. Their movements were unnervingly smooth, like predators gliding through water. Ramirez cursed under his breath. Those things don't fly like ships. They fly like they're thinking. They are thinking, Valar said quietly. Each one is part of the swarm, a fragment of a single mind. The chase was short, but fierce. The Resolute's small size gave it an advantage, letting it dart between drifting asteroids. But the swarm ships adapted quickly, matching each maneuver. They're hurting us, Arlen realized, trying to push us toward open space. That's where they'll surround us, Katrina said. Arlen's mind raced, then he smiled grimly. Not today. He oared the ship deeper into the belt, toward a dense cluster of spinning debris. That's a dead end, Ramirez warned. Not if we make our own exit, Arlen said. In the cluster's center was a massive asteroid, cracked into jagged halves. A narrow gap ran between them, just wide enough for a ship the size of the Resolute. Drew. Full speed. Cat, on my mark. Dump 3 decoy beacons behind us. Make them noisy. The ship shot forward, weaving through the rocks as they neared the gap. Katrina deployed the decoys. They burst into life, each emitting strong engine signatures. The swarm ships split their attention to breaking off to chase the decoys while one stayed on the Resolute. The gap was tight to tight. For comfort, the Resolute scraped along one edge, sparks flashing in the void. Behind them, the last swarm ship tried to follow and slammed into the rock, vanishing in a burst of light and debris. Cheers filled the bridge. Don't celebrate, Valar warned. They will return. They always return, Arlen nodded. Then we better make it to that gate before they do. Hours later, the crew gathered in the mess hall, exhausted but alive. Valara sat at the far end of the table, eating the strange but nutritious paste the medbay provided. You fight differently than most, she said to Arlen. Other captains would run in straight lines. You twist. That's because humans don't like straight lines, Arlen said with a grin. Too predictable. For a moment, Valara almost smiled. Then her gaze drifted toward the stars beyond the viewport. The shard in her chest pulsed faintly, and for the first time since she had awoken, she looked uncertain. The Resolute moved through deep space now, far from the asteroid belt. The stars were bright, scattered across the black like cold fire. On the bridge, Captain James Arlen sat in his chair, one leg crossed over the other. His crew worked in silence. Every one of them knew the Null Swarm was still out there. They haven't shown themselves for 2 days, Ramirez said, scanning the sensors. Maybe they gave up. They don't give up, Valara said from the side of the bridge. Her voice was calm, but her golden eyes were fixed on the void beyond the viewport. Katrina glanced over her shoulder. Then what are they doing? Waiting, Valara answered. They follow without being seen. They choose the moment to strike. The Resolute passed through a quiet region of space littered with drifting metal debris. Most of it was old scrap from forgotten mining stations, maybe wrecks from old battles. Something in the pattern caught Arlen's eye. Cat, focus sensors on that debris field. What do you see? Katrina tapped the controls. Mostly junk. Wait, she frowned. I'm reading small objects moving inside the field. Very slow. No engine heat. Ramirez leaned closer. Drones, not ours, Katrina said. Valara stepped forward. It is the beginning. Her hand went to the shard on her chest. The soft glow it usually gave off was brighter now, pulsing in a steady rhythm. They use scouts first, she explained. Small machines, silent, to track and study. The larger ships come after. Arlen made a quick decision. Drew, keep US moving, but slow. Cat, keep them on the screen. I want to see how they react. The Resolute glided between chunks of metal. A few of the dark shapes shifted slowly, almost lazily, as if not interested. But one of them turned toward the ship it was no bigger than a small fighter craft, but its design was unnatural. It had no clear front or back, only black, blade-like shapes that rotated slowly around a glowing core. The movement was smooth and deliberate, like a hunting animal. Katrina's voice dropped to a whisper. It's scanning us. Let it, Arlen said. I want to know what happens next. What happened next was fast. The drone's core flashed once, and then it vanished into the debris field. Where did it go? Drew asked. Katrina shook her head. It's gone. No trace. Valara's expression darkened. It has seen enough. The others will come. They didn't have to wait long. 3 hours later, Katrina's console lit up. Context 5 this time, all larger than the last one, closing in from multiple directions. Arlen stood. Battle. Stations. The crew moved quickly. Shields came online with a low hum. Weapon systems warmed up. The Resolute was not a warship, but it had enough teeth to bite if needed. The first of the Null Swarm ships appeared on the edge of visual range. Sleek black shapes. Silent and sharp, they moved without engine flare, as if space itself carried them forward. They're spreading out, Ramirez said, trying to box us in. Drew, take us into that nebula ahead, Arlen ordered. On the viewport, a faint, cloudy region swirled in shades of blue and purple. The gas inside would scatter sensors, making it harder for the swarm to track them. The Resolute entered the mist. Colors danced across the hull, soft and ghostly. Inside the nebula, visibility dropped. The sensors became patchy. Still with us? Arlen asked. Katrina studied her display. 2 on our tail. But wait, no, 3. One's coming in from above. They know we're here, Ramirez muttered. The first attack came fast. A beam of pale energy lanced through the mist, grazing the Resolute's shields. The ship shuddered. Shields at 80%, Ramirez reported. Arlen's eyes narrowed. Return fire. Aim for the glow in their cores. The The ship's forward cannon spat bright bolts of plasma. One of the pursuing ships darted aside with impossible agility. The other took a hit, its core flickering before it vanished into the mist. "Did we get it?" Katrina asked. "No," Valara said quietly. "It left to bring more." The nebula became a hunting ground. Shapes flickered in and out of view. Beams of energy cut through the mist, sometimes missing, sometimes striking the shields. "Shields at 60%, Ramirez said. Arlen made a quick decision. "We can't stay in here. Too many blind spots. Drew, punch us through to the other side." The Resolute's engines roared, and the ship surged forward for several tense minutes. They dodged incoming fire, weaving between dense pockets of gas. Finally, they broke free into open space. The relief didn't last long. "Captain," Katrina said, "we've got a bigger problem. Something huge is coming through behind us." The thing that emerged from the nebula made the others look small. It was massive, shaped like a jagged spearhead, its black hole shifting as if it were alive. At its center burned a huge core of white light. Valara's voice was low. "That is not a hunter. That is a reaper. It will not stop." The Resolute ran. The reaper ship gave chase, its speed far greater than anything that size should have. Beams of light raked across space, forcing Drew into constant evasive maneuvers. "Shields at 40%. Ramirez shouted. "Cat. Tell me there's something out here we can use," Arlen said. She scanned quickly. "Asteroid field, 20,000 kilometers ahead. If we make it inside, we might lose them." "Might," Ramirez repeated. Cat gave him a quick glance. "Better than nothing." They reached the asteroid field in minutes. Giant rocks tumbled through the void, colliding and splitting in slow, silent destruction. Drew flew the Resolute into the chaos. The Reaper followed. Smaller swarm ships darted around it, trying to cut off escape routes. Arlen's mind raced. "Ramirez, prep the aft mines. When we pass between two large rocks, drop them." The moment came quickly. Two asteroids spun close together, creating a narrow passage. The Resolute slipped through, and Ramirez released the mines. A flash lit the dark as the asteroids shattered, chunks smashing into two of the smaller swarm ships. The Reaper slowed but didn't stop. "They don't care how many they lose," Valara said. "Each one is only a piece of the whole. Then we'll just keep breaking pieces until the whole can't follow," Arlen replied. But he knew it couldn't go on forever. Their shields were weakening. The Shard and Valara's chest pulsed brighter and brighter, as if reacting to the danger. "How far to the gate?" Arlen asked. Valara hesitated. "To jumps away. But we must survive to reach them." Arlen smiled grimly. "Then we'll have to be human about it. Improvise." The Resolute floated in the shadow of a massive asteroid, its engines running low to hide its heat signature. The crew moved quietly, speaking in low voices. They had shaken off the null swarm for now, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time before the machines found them again. Captain James Arlen stood in the medbay, watching Valara. The alien woman lay on the diagnostic bed, her breathing steady but shallow. The shard in her chest glowed faintly, casting shifting patterns across the walls. "You're pushing yourself too hard," Arlen said. Valara opened her golden eyes. "I have little choice. The shard grows brighter the closer we are to the gate. It reacts to its purpose and to the swarm." Arlen crossed his arms. "We need to know exactly what it is, Valara." No half answers. For a moment she was silent. Then she sat up, moving with deliberate care. "This shard," she began, "is more than a key. It is a core fragment of an ancient machine built by the first great civilizations. It holds the command to shut down the null swarm at its source." The crew members gathered in the medbay looked at each other. "You mean you could destroy them?" Katrina asked. "Yes," Valara said, "if the shard is placed inside the swarm's central core, the machine mind will collapse. But to do this, it must be removed from me." Ramirez frowned. "And without it, I die," she said simply. The words hung in the air. Arlen studied her face. "So you've been carrying a weapon this whole time. A weapon, a key, a beacon," she said. "It is all of these my people created. It to protect life, but it became a burden we could not carry when the swarm found us. I was chosen to guard it until it could reach the gate. Katrina shook her head slowly. That's why they keep coming after us. It's not just because they hate life, they know this thing can destroy them. Yes, Valar said. They will never stop. While it exists, silence fell again. Finally, Ramirez spoke. We have two options then. One, we take you to the gate. You hide in your safe place, and the swarm keeps hunting everyone else. Two, we take the shard from you, use it to destroy them, and you, well, you're gone. That's not a choice, Katrina said sharply. It is survival, Ramirez countered. Valar's voice was calm, almost detached. I am ready to make that sacrifice if it will save countless lives. But Arlen shook his head. Not so fast. Humans don't like sacrifices unless they're the absolute last resort. There might be a third option. Valar tilted her head. There is no third option. The shard must be inside their core. Arlen smiled faintly. Maybe. But we've beaten impossible odds before by changing the rules. If the shard's signal can shut them down, maybe we don't have to physically put it there. We could amplify it, broadcast it across space. Ramirez frowned. That's risky. We'd have to jury-rig a transmitter strong enough to punch through their network, and if it fails, we just make ourselves an even bigger target. Welcome to human problem-solving, Arlen said. They spent the next hours in the engineering bay, working over the shard's readings. The device pulsed in steady rhythm, its energy fluctuating like a heartbeat. Whatever this thing is made of, Ramirez muttered, it's not like any material I've ever seen. It's alive somehow. It is partly alive, Valar said. It remembers what it was built to do. It responds to danger. That explains why it's been glowing brighter since we met the swarm, Katrina said as they worked. Valar told them more about the gate. It is a place between places, she said. A tunnel through folded space, built by the same ones who created the shard. Once inside, the swarm cannot follow unless they find the shard. That is why it must be hidden beyond their reach. But you still want to try this shutdown plan, Arlen said. Valar hesitated. If it could work, it would end the swarm for all time. But the energy to project the signal over such distance would burn out the shard, and me with it, Arlen looked her in the eye. Not if we keep it inside you. We just use you as the power source without removing it. Katrina winced. That sounds painful. Valar's lips curved in a faint smile. Pain is not my concern. Failure is. The planning session was interrupted by a sudden alarm. Katrina's voice came over the comm. Captain, multiple contact swarm ships, closing fast. How many? Arlen asked. Too many to count. She replied, and one very large one. The Reaper. The crew rushed to battle stations. The Resolute's engines fired, pushing the ship away from the asteroid's shadow. Out in the distance, the black shapes of the swarm ships grew larger, their glowing cores like cold stars. They must have traced the shard's last pulse, Ramirez said. Arlen's mind raced. We're too far from the gate to make a straight run. Cat, is there any cover nearby? Negative, she said. Just open space. Then we have to outthink them. The swarm ships spread out in a wide formation, closing in. The Reaper stayed at the back, its massive shape blocking the starlight. They're trying to drive us toward it, Katrina said. Which means, Arlen replied, we go right through their line instead. Drew looked back from the pilots. Seep through them. That's suicide. Only if you fly like they expect, Arlen said. We don't give them a straight target. The Resolute charged forward. The smaller swarm hunters moved to intercept, firing narrow beams of pale energy. Drew twisted the ship through them, the inertial dampers straining to keep up. Ramirez, start overloading the forward shields, Arlen ordered. Make them flare bright. Why? Ramirez asked even as he obeyed. So they think we're about to ram them, Arlen said. The ploy worked. Two of the hunters swerved aside at the last moment, opening a narrow gap. The Resolute shot through it at full speed, passing dangerously close to the enemy ships. The Reaper loomed ahead. Arlen leaned forward. Valara, can the shard's signal hit them now? Yes, she said, her voice steady, but not far enough to reach the core. Doesn't matter. Let's see what it does to their front line. She placed her hands over the shard. The glow intensified, flooding the medbay with white-blue light. On the bridge, Katrina's console spiked with strange readings. The nearest hunter ships faltered. Their course flickered. One veered off course, colliding with another in a silent burst of light. It works, Katrina breathed. Then we keep doing it, Arlen said. But Valara's face had gone pale. It will not last long. The shard burns hotter each time I push it. The Resolute broke free of the enemy formation, speeding into open space. But the Reaper turned to follow. Arlen glanced at the star chart. To jumps to the gate, right? Yes, Valara said. Then we run. And on the last jump, we make them regret ever chasing humans. The crew exchanged determined looks. The plan was dangerous, but they all knew it was their best chance. The Resolute vanished into the dark, the Reaper close behind. The Resolute raced through deep space, the stars stretching into thin streaks as the jump drive carried them closer. To the gate, behind them, the Null Swarm's Reaper ship followed, matching their every move. Captain James Arlen stood on the bridge, one hand gripping the back of the pilot's chair. Cat, how far to the gate? Just one more jump, Katrina said. But the Reaper is gaining. They'll be on top of us the second we arrive. Then we make our stand there, Arlen replied. In the medbay, Valara sat upright on the bed, the shard in her chest glowing like a small star. The light was brighter now, almost too bright to look at directly. When Arlen stepped in, she turned to him. You know the swarm will not stop at the gate. If they reach it, they will follow us anywhere. That's why we're not just running, Arlen said. We're going to use your shard, not to hide. To end this, her golden eyes narrowed. The only way to end them is to place the shard inside their core. I already told you. No, Arlen interrupted. But humans don't like the only way answers. We make our own. They gathered in the engineering bay. The plan was simple, but dangerous. Ramirez explained it while pointing to a rotating hologram of the gate. We're going to use the shard's signal as bait. Once the Reaper is close enough, we'll trigger a pulse strong enough to overload its systems. The gate's energy will amplify it, pushing the shutdown command into their network. Katrina added, if it works, the signal should spread through every connected swarm ship instantly. And if it fails? Drew asked. Arlen smiled faintly. Then we improvise. Again, the jump to the gate was rough. The moment the Resolute dropped out of jump space, the massive structure filled the viewport. It was ancient miles wide, its surface covered in strange symbols. The colossal rings spun slowly around a bright core of swirling light. Even from this distance, the gate seemed alive, humming with power older than human history. Valara's voice was almost a whisper. Home. But there was no time to admire it. The Reaper ship emerged from jump space seconds later, flanked by a swarm of smaller hunters. They're moving into attack formation, Katrina said. Good, Arlen replied. Let them come. Valara moved to the center of the medbay. Wires and cables from the ship's systems connected to small contact pads on her arms and back. She closed her eyes, focusing on the shard. Ramirez's voice came over the comm. Energy readings are spiking. She's ready, Captain. Arlen nodded. Then let's light the fuse. The Reaper closed the distance quickly, beams of pale energy, slamming into the Resolute shields. Shields at 70%, Ramirez reported. Hold steady. Arlen said, we need them closer. The gap narrowed 5,000 meters. 4,000 now. Arlen ordered. Valara exhaled and unleashed the shard's power. A wave of light burst from the Resolute, rippling across space. It hit the Reaper head-on. The giant ship shuddered, its core flickering violently, the smaller hunters around. It wavered, some spinning out of control. It's working, Katrina shouted. But then the readings changed. Captain, Ramirez said quickly, the Reaper is resisting. It's feeding power back into its core to block the shutdown signal. Arlen's mind raced. How close do we have to be for the gate to amplify the signal? Inside the outer ring, Katrina replied. That's less than 1,000 meters. Then we take the fight right to it. The Resolute surged forward toward the spinning rings of the gate. The Reaper followed, trying to match their speed. As they crossed the threshold into the gate's outer ring, the hum of the ancient structure grew louder, vibrating through the ship's hull. Energy readings spiked across every console. Ramirez's eyes widened. Captain, the gate's amplifying everything. If we fire the shard now, it might fry every system on the Resolute, too. Arlen glanced toward the medbay camera feed. Valara's skin was glowing almost entirely white-blue, her expression calm despite the strain. We fire it anyway, Arlen said. This is our only shot. The second pulse exploded from the shard. Far brighter than before, the light filled the gate's rings, shooting outward in all directions. The Reaper froze in place. Its black hole rippled like liquid, and the bright core at its center went dark. One by one, the hunters around it collapsed into drifting wrecks. It's working, it's hitting the whole network, Katrina said, her voice shaking with excitement. But then alarms filled the bridge. Captain, the shard's output is unstable. Ramirez shouted. It's going to overload. In the medbay, Valara swayed, her breathing rapid. Arlen's voice came through the comm. Valara, shut it down. No, she said softly. Not until it is done. Don't be a hero, Captain Arlen, she interrupted. Humans are not the only ones who improvise. With a final push, she poured the last of her strength into the shard. The wave of energy surged outward one more time, brighter than a star, and then silence. On the sensors, every swarm signal vanished. Katrina's voice was barely above a whisper. They're gone. Arlen rushed to the medbay. Valara lay still, her glow fading. For a moment, he feared the worst. Then her eyes opened weak, but alive. You're still here, he said. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. So are you? Ramirez entered, shaking his head in disbelief. Captain, I don't know how she survived that. The energy levels. Should have. Don't question it, Arlen said. Just be glad she did. They drifted near the gate, the wrecks of the swarm ships silent round them. No other signals appeared on the scanners. It's over, Katrina said. For now, Valara replied. She sat up slowly, looking out at the swirling light in the center of the gate. But the galaxy is still dangerous. You humans will learn that soon enough, Arlen smiled. Maybe. But if it comes to it, we'll just break the rules again. The Resolute turned toward the gate as they entered the swirling light. The view ahead dissolved into brightness. Valara watched the humans moving around the bridge, speaking quickly, adapting to every small problem as they went. She had traveled the stars, met many species, but never any like them. They didn't always follow logic. They didn't always play safe, and somehow, that was why they survived. She spoke quietly, almost to herself. You break the universe's logic, and somehow, it obeys you. Arlen glanced at her. What was that? Nothing, Captain, she said, leaning back, just thinking that maybe humans are worth keeping around.